Basically, Oakland, like most of the big cities, is adamant that taking away the redevelopment funds is probably illegal, but more importantly, would be really penny wise and pound foolish. We're not just talking about $1.6 billion here. We're talking about the multiplier impact of redevelopment in an area, and that's why I use the Fox Theater. We would never have turned around the downtown district without redevelopment funds. We would have never built the transit villages in the Fruitvale, now at MacArthur, West Oakland, and the Coliseum without redevelopment funds. I wouldn't have turned around the Diamond neighborhood if I couldn't have helped Farmer Joe's get facade grants and get going, and that has led to an explosion of retail in that neighborhood. And it's one of the few keys that urban cities have, and it will disproportionately hurt poor people and urban areas in the state if redevelopment goes away. Let's say you're trying to just get this $1.6 billion now, but you're willing to kill basically, particularly the economic development prospects for new growth and for future tax revenues. It just seems really sort of penny wise, pound foolish. It also, I have to say, as representing an urban city, it would, I was on this program, KLW, and this professor, and he said what I know to be true, that it would be somewhat a shift of funds. If all these monies, instead of coming to these urban blighted areas and just goes straight into the state general fund, it is a shift of resources from urban districts and poor neighborhoods to the state as a whole. And it's a shift of funding of a couple of $2 billion. And I have to say, being from Oakland, no, not every rock has been, they say, oh, we're turning over every rock. No, not every rock has been turned over, because there's still certain sacred cows. Chevron just announced that they had $5 billion in profit. If we had the state, same state extraction tax as other states, that would be worth $6 billion. And I believe that they haven't taken on the prison guards union on their pensions yet. Prisons are not, and that a lot of the urban cities are asking, the prison union and the prison budget is relatively still unscathed in the state budget. You can check the Sacramento Bee out for that factoid. Or is everything really being put on the table? Is it all fair? And when we were meeting at the Big Ten, we all raised that. It's like you're saying everything's on the table, but not everything is really on the table yet.
As I said at the council meeting, we still have no clear understanding of what will come out of the state. We have talked to everybody who's involved, and nothing is clear yet. As the mayor said, that many of the people who are involved in this in a budget level, not in a substantive level. They don't really understand redevelopment. I think the general image is that people had projects, they put out bonds for those projects, and the only thing left to do is to pay the debt service on those projects. They don't understand that this is a continuing effort that requires substantial amount of involvement of staff, of communities, of changing how communities get economic development and economic benefits. And it's not like a one-time construction project. I think the model that they have is, let's just say, under-informed. We're making every effort to educate people, and we're also looking at different ways that we can protect Oakland, but it's not at all clear what, if anything, is going to be possible.
The redevelopment law talks about blight and economic development and turning things around. And we've used most of our redevelopment funds either for housing or for economic development along retail corridors. So that would be from the Fox to, as I said, Farmer Joe's and in the Diamond, and facade grants along International Boulevard, or the Transit Village in the Fruitvale. Those police officers are specifically for I think the International Boulevards, maybe Claudia can help me. I believe that we're only doing the International, Claudia and Ray, we're only doing the merchant areas along International Boulevard, which are part of, and the Coliseum, which are part of our whole blight issue. So that's from District 5 to 6 to 7, and the work along there. And it's because of safety, that part of turning around and getting those retail areas going is to make sure that they're safe. And so it provides some walking hours, and it's not unlike some of our bids also use the money for security guards. So we're not the only city that does that. Quite a few other cities, in some, for instance, I was listening on the radio there, in Santa Cruz, I believe, that their police actually do the blight enforcement. They actually go write the tickets and things like that. So they use percentage of their police funding for that because the police actually do that. They don't have separate people like we do as a much bigger city who just do the blight write-ups.